computer. Okay, cool.
Okay.
We are now recording.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome everyone to Breaking Into the Film Business. I am your host, Jenicia, and today's guest is so apropos because he is founder of Black Films Rock. Actor, you're not an actor. Okay, let's go again.
Okay.
Ready?
Go ahead. We can cut all this out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone to Breaking Into the Film Business. I am your host, Jenicia, and today's special guest and first guest is so apropos, director, producer, and writer, Mark Harris, and also founder of Black Films Rock on Facebook. I hope you guys have followed the page. Welcome, Mark Harris.
Thank you. Actually, thank you for having me and for hosting the first show. I truly appreciate it. Great job.
Thank you. I'm really, really excited about this because it's going to be so educational and instructional. And as we both know online, we get contacted a lot about what way to go, right?
Yeah.
What we should be doing. And sometimes, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time because, you know, we're wrapped up in our own productions and projects. So this is going to be great for everybody watching because, you know, there'll be a lot to learn with these interviews. So I'm excited to be hosting. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna be asking you questions too, though.
Oh, for real? I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. So I like opening interviews, right? Straight out the gate with conviction. A lot of times we're often told to be humble. No matter how far we've come, we're constantly told, be humble, stay humble. I like to open up a little window for bragging. So I'm very curious to know why you decided to get into the film business as a director and what have you accomplished since?
Good question. First, I never wanted to be a director, not even growing up. You know, I never even know I wanted to get into the film business. But I knew that I had a passion for writing. So I didn't know what it was that I wanted to write, whether it's poetry, whether it's books or anything, but I knew I had a love for movies because, you know, growing up, I love going to the movies. I love watching movies. And I just had a great love and still do have a love for movies. So, and so it wasn't until like 1990, I believe 1997, where I decided, you know, to start writing screenplays. But even at that particular time, I did not have any idea that I actually wanted to direct these screenplays. I just said, you know, I'm gonna just, you know, write screenplays. I'm gonna sell them to Hollywood, to the studio. It never worked out that way. And so it wasn't until like 2000 and I believe 5 is when I decided, you know what, if I'm going to make a movie, I have to go out and make it myself. And so I was just kind of, you know, forced into this whole directing in the director's chair. But I never pursued it. It's nothing I wanted to do. And but once I got in the director's chair, I felt, you know, that's where I belong, and I loved it ever since.
Wow, that's interesting. A lot of people are going to be mad because their entire dream from being very young was this film industry, but you just kind of like, no, this is something I feel like doing.
Right.
So would you consider yourself more of a businessman or a creative when it comes to the film industry?
I have to be both, but I want to get more on a business side because eventually, you know, what we're doing is we actually in the process of building our first eco-friendly studio, which is in Michigan. But I want to do these and, you know, another one on the West Coast, maybe in Vegas somewhere. I want to do another one in Belize and another one in Ghana. Then call it quits on that, you know, but you know, initially it was just being a creative. You know, I never wanted to, but being a creative, I knew that I had to approach it as a businessman because I used to own a pager shop and I own cleaners and stuff like that. So I always looked at, you know, the business. I always looked at it as a business. So when I produced my first film, I knew I had to go out and do the marketing. I knew I had to go out. I never pursued Hollywood. I mean, in that sense, in terms of once my film was done, I said, I knew I was going to put this film out myself. And so that's what I did. I did self-distribution on my first 4 to 5 films. I did self-distribution and, you know, and And just because I looked at this not just as a creative, but also as a business as well.
And I do notice when I watch your Q&As on social, I'm sorry. And I do notice when I watch your Q&As on social media that you're always stressing the business side of the business, which is something that a lot of creatives don't do. And I think that is to their detriment. Why do you stress being business minded, even if you're a creative?
Okay, that's a good question because I don't know if you had a chance to watch Dave Chappelle's stand-up that he did on SNL.
Yes.
That was just okay. So remember in that skit, he says that his show is on his content is on HBO and Netflix, and he's not getting paid for
He
it.
didn't get paid, right?
Right. You know, he said his grandfather was like, well, you know, they sold me more than they sold you.
Right.
You know, something around those lines.
Right.
So as a creative, right, and as a, you know, going into this business, either we're going to take control of our lives, or other people going to take control of our lives and have us doing what they want us to do. You know, so I always stress to people, you know, if you want, it's about, at the same time, it's about generational wealth and leaving something for our children, you know, so they can be proud of, you know. And so that's why I always stress, we can eat now, and have this sandwich or have this $1 million now, or we can build something that was going to last 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. Because you look at the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, you know, they've been doing it for 200 and 300 years. You know, and still today, none of them are 200 or 300 years old, but it's called passing that information down from one generation to the next, you know, and so that's what it's about. And, you know, and that's why I always stress, you know, we have to look at the business aspect of it as well as the creative aspect of it.
I love that narrative because even when I started in this business, the last thing on my mind was generational wealth. I just wanted to make it, right? As an actress, I'm like, you just want to make it. You just want to get in. And you don't realize that a lot of making it is knowing the business that you're going into. So I love your Q&As for that reason.
Thank you.
Okay. So Mark, what do you love about being a director and a writer? And as a writer, what roles will you never write for your actors?
Oh, I can't, you know what? I can't say what roles that I would, well, okay. Let's start with the first question, the first part of that question. What do I love about being a director? I mean, I love every aspect of it. I mean, I love, you know, just dealing with different people, because you know, as a director, you have to deal with different attitudes, different mentalities, the whole aspect of it. You have to deal with it, you know. And so that's one of the things I really, really enjoy doing is dealing with the different people. And I like, blocking scenes. I love the idea of blocking scenes. It's funny because I didn't know what to block a scene was until I first did Black Coffee. And so I didn't know the name for it, but I knew, you know, I would block my scenes, you know, but when I did the movie Black Coffee, there were so many things that I was learning at that, you know, from making that movie, like different terms and stuff like that. So, you know, they say block a scene. So I said, okay, cool. So that's one of the most passionate things I'm about is when you actually blocking the scene and then looking at the actors perform, you know, looking at the actors bringing, you know, not, you know, words to your words to life or words to life, and just looking at the actors just being in that moment and looking at people who are doing what they love to do. Like, this is a field, right? You know, that, you know, wherever you look, whatever department you're looking into, you're looking at people who love just the idea of being on set. People are not there, you know, just some people are there just to make money, but that's not the overall objective. The overall objective is we just love this business. We love what we do, you know. And so that's what I love about the whole directing part is when I'm looking at an actor or when I'm blocking the scene, I'm looking at the love that these people share, the same love that I have. You know, we all share the same love. So that's what I love about it.
That's a great point because you know, I have a corporate background and I've never been at work, you know, I mean 9 to 5 thinking, oh my God, all these people are passionate about sitting at these desks, right? Or filing these papers. But on set, you do feel the energy and it's very passionate, whether it's the DP or the actor, the director, there is a lot of passionate energy. That's very true. Okay, so as a writer, are there any roles that you stay away from writing and why?
I don't look at it that way. Like I don't say when I'm writing something, I don't say, okay, I'm going to stay away from this. Now there have been projects that that I've been offered to direct, and I didn't take on those projects because of particular roles. And I'm sure you're familiar with one project that it was presented to me, and and the script, they had the brothers, like all the black men were like straight up savages,
Oh,
and there were like no good positive black images in this script.
okay.
And so I had, the production company that I was working with that wanted me to direct this project. That was one of my notes, is that there are no positive black men in this script. And so I didn't get the job because of that. But thank God. So yeah, I mean there are roles, but I have to see them in order to just reject them. But when I'm writing my own scripts, I just don't think, okay, I'm not going to write this role, or I just write what comes out.
Now, did that film get made anyway?
It's going to get made.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's going to get made. Oh yeah, but it hasn't gotten made yet.
Okay. You just passed on it. You were
I
like,
passed on it, and yeah, and they actually announced the director of the project. I'm not gonna say the person's name because they'll know who I'm talking about. And the person who actually wrote the script is very, 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 very famous. Yeah,
okay. So we'll be looking forward to another movie where black men are savages.
yeah, and I just can do it.
Okay. I respect that very much. Okay, so what is the best way, in your opinion, for an actor to build relationships for future work?
Um, Attitude is very important.
Mm.
And to be honest with you, most directors, right? Most directors will work with an actor who's not that. I mean, they're talented, but they're not extremely talented. Before they work with an actor that's extremely talented but has a nasty attitude, you know what I'm saying? So the best way is to network, to get to know people. And sometimes what happens is the fact that a lot of us like to rush into these relationships. We don't like to milk the relationships. We like to inbox people, and when someone doesn't respond, or we like to someone doesn't respond, I get inboxes and people ask me for my phone number. I'm like, yeah, and I'm not saying, not to give out my phone number because I make movies. I'm just saying that's like, you just don't inbox a person asking them for their phone number who you don't know. And so that's not how relationships are built. Like, people have to really understand how these relationships are built. It's about going to different events, networking with people, getting to know a person, and most of my relationships and most of the ways I have made films or gotten films made based off of relationships. And these relationships are not relationships that I just email somebody and say, okay, let's make a movie. These are relationships like going to different film festivals and just, talking to people and just going to different, and just building these relationships. And over years and years and years is when someone say, okay, let's make a movie. And so that's how, my relationships I have built my relationships. So we just can't rush into relationships. It's like, with any relationship, like even as a woman, right? You don't want a guy who's going to come up, and just, going for the kill, he has to be smooth with it. Like with any relationship, that's the thing. We have to be very, sincere, and just don't go out and just, and just rush into these relationships and, and meet people and get to know people first.
I like how you said, build the relationship, because I think that the film industry is looked at so, casually, where, if you're working in corporate America, you don't chase down the CEO and then he promotes you. So in any business, like you said, in any relationship, slow is the way, right?
Yeah.
Sincere, genuine is the way. I understand about people inboxing you, because I get inboxes all the time.
I'm
Hey,
sure,
I have your
yeah.
number, and I'm like, I don't know you. Why? So I get that, and I think that the film industry, people have to take it more seriously because it is a business. Right?
It's a business.
I think a lot of people forget that. So I want to get into something a little serious.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. So the Me Too movement. Okay?
You about to get me in trouble now.
The Me Too. I hope not. Good trouble. Let's get in some good trouble. Okay. So the Me Too movement started by Tarana Burke, right? Made big headlines in the film business. How can women and men avoid being put into a vulnerable situation where they're sexually harassed or worse? How can the actor avoid being pulled into those situations? Is there a way, you think?
I don't think there's a way you can avoid it. It's just how you respond to it. You know,
Oh,
because let me give you an example. If you go to a casting call, right, and when you get into the room and the person give you a ultimatum whether you want this role or get on this couch, you can either get on the couch or you can either leave. Now, coming into that room, and you didn't know what to expect, so there's no way you could have avoided that. Now, if you decide to get on that couch, that's between you and that person. But if you decide to leave, which is the moral thing to do, that's on you. But it's the decision that you make once you're inside of that room. But going into that room, you can't avoid that because you just never know what you're walking into. But you can do also, also it's good to do a little research, not a little research. We were going into casting calls and stuff like that, do research on the production company, who's going to be there in terms of the director, especially when it comes to independent films, like on the studio level, it's different. But on the, independent level, and I'm not saying, when I say it's different, I don't mean that on the studio level, because we know about the Harvey Weinsteins and so forth and so on. I'm not saying that this doesn't happen, but what I'm saying is that on the independent level, where you can, you'll know Harvey Weinstein when you hear Harvey Weinstein or Quentin Tarantino. Not saying Quentin Tarantino did anything, but you'll know those names, or Spike Lee, whatever. You'll know those names, so you don't have to do much research on these, or you hear a Lionsgate, or you hear a Fox, or you hear Universal. These are brands that most of us are familiar with. So you don't have to do a lot of research on these brands, but companies that you're not familiar with, you want to do some research on these companies, who's producing, and so you can know what you're getting yourself into. Not saying that, that's going to prevent anything from happening, but at least, you're prepared. So if something happens, you know how to deal with that situation, leave that situation, and then report that situation. You know what I'm saying? So, but there's nothing you can do to avoid putting yourself in that situation. It's how you get out of that situation where you can avoid, where you take charge of it.
That's great advice. I'm gonna start body cams. I think all actors should just wear body cams. Just walk into the audition with a body cam. Like, all of this is being recorded. So you mentioned the casting couch, right? The proverbial casting couch. Do you think it's still very common, or do you think people are being more careful now because of the Weinsteins?
I think it's definitely still common. It happens, but I think people are being more careful because of Harvey Weinstein. So people, in certain situations, they're not as direct.
Okay.
But they just leave it out there to give you that option. But I don't think it's going to go anywhere no time soon, unfortunately. But they're very careful how it's presented.
I don't think it's ever going anywhere. I think it, sex is used in businesses across the board for advancement. With that said, there is a flip side to Me Too, because Me Too is someone going in, and this happens to them. They're sexually harassed or worse, and it came out of nowhere. But there is a flip side where actors, both male and female, do participate in the casting couch to advance their careers. Would you advise against that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why?
Why? Because, if you have the talent, you're gonna, I'm a firm believer that no one can stop you. Like, I think I said this before, like, no one is not the gatekeeper to your success, right? No one can stop you from doing what you want to do. You may not want to, you gotta look at it this way, do you love the whole process of making movies, or do you want to be famous, or do you want, you have to look at, and you have to break down how you want your career to be. If you just love the idea of making movies, and you can say no to the Harvey Weinsteins, right? You could say no to and just go work on an independent film, you know. And so I don't suggest it because of that reason. You definitely can say, you know, walk away from it.
What
Yeah.
advice would you give to someone when, let's say, like a Harvey Weinstein, because now he's the poster boy for this, but you know, when someone powerful tells you, well, you'll never work in this town again, which is a threat that is common in the film industry, what would you advise an actor or an actress when they hear that? You'll never work in this town again then?
Okay, so this is very simple. It's very simple. Again, this is a situation whereas, do you want to keep control of your fame, or do you just want to be in this business because you love this business? Now, when it comes to the studio and the independent level, and nowadays with the whole COVID thing, there's not much difference. And when I say there's not much difference, is the fact that COVID put the independent level and the studio level neck to neck, meaning that they're not doing anything much in the studio level. This is a great opportunity for independent filmmakers to make independent films. This is a great opportunity for investors to look at independent filmmakers and say, okay, we want to invest in these independent films. And, you know, in that next year, the studios and the streaming platforms like Netflix, Peacock, Tubi, UMC, these different platforms are going to be looking for content. So this is a great opportunity. So if a producer says to you, you know, sleep with me, or you'll never work again in this town, walk away. Say, okay, I may never work again in this town, but that doesn't mean you won't work again in the film industry. Just do independent films. You know what I'm saying?
So in other words, there's always a way around it, right? And
Yeah.
no one can control what is meant for you or what you really want. So there's always a way around it. So people shouldn't panic when they hear you'll never work in this town again.
Right, and there's no reason they could have said that maybe even 20 years ago, and maybe even 10 years ago. But when you have when you can pick up a camera, you have an audio guy. You know, we made a film in 5 days, and we got distribution from a very significant distribution company, meaning like a really big distribution company. So it's going to be everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So. And we made this film, I mean, I don't want to say the budget, but we made this film for a little bit of nothing. So you can make films, right? You can put the films out yourself. So this guy, this Indian guy, his first name is Dana or something like that. He just put out a documentary called Trump's Card. He made this documentary independent of Hollywood, right? But it was the #2 streaming DVD in the country. You know what I'm saying? And I was watching one of his interviews, and he's American, but his parents are from India, right? But I was watching one of his interviews, and he says, look, he's very conservative. You know, he's like, look, I don't have the desire to work into Hollywood. They won't accept me anyway. He said, I make my own films, and I'm happy with the films that I make. Now, you know, but again, this is a man who went out, made his own films. He's not trying to get into Hollywood because he already know what's going on. And so but his films is #2. So this is money. First of all, he has total control of his content. Like our brother, I love Dave Chappelle, but Dave Chappelle admitted that he doesn't own his content.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He may have gotten a big check, you know, from Netflix, you know, but he doesn't own. This is not content that he passed down to his children. Like this guy who made this documentary, you know, like just say for instance, if he made 10 million off this documentary, being the #2 streaming platform, #2 movie, a streaming movie in America, let's just say he made $2 million. But at the end of the day, this is a project that he's going to be able to pass down to his children. You know what I'm saying? And so that's very important.
So let's get to set, shall we? Let's get to set. Actors, I hope you're listening, okay? So let's get to set, Mark Harris. We're on set. As you know, more than me, because I've seen it, but I know from a director's point of view, you have a wider lens to the cast on set. Some actors overact, some underact, right? how do you bring out the best in an actor or pull them back when they're doing too much?
Great question. That's why. That's why. Like when you're making a film, it's very, very important. Like to get actors that who gonna bring it. You know what I'm saying? So those are some of the things that I used to have to worry about. In my earlier films, because you're dealing with actors who are not that experienced. But when you're dealing with actors that's very experienced and like that really takes their project, their character seriously, you don't have to do too much of that. You don't have to do too much of you may give them a note, give them a little direction, but you don't have to you don't have to tell them who their characters are. You don't have to tell them you have to do this or do that, because they get into those characters. Like early on in my films, I used to have to do that a lot, like relax, chill, and they'll give them some direction, tons of direction, but that's, when you're doing that, it's just taking too much time. You know how it works. I'm like, let's go, let's move, you got it. And then what I do, I give a note here and there, I'm saying, make adjustments. If you're going too high, I'm like, okay, this is not a good sign. But I haven't, like, even when one of the compliments that we got from the many distribution companies who watched White People's Money, and when they watched it and they wanted to pick it up, but some offers were pretty good, but some offers were not good. But those are the companies we passed on. But even they were saying like the acting they love the acting. It was like
I'm in that.
They were like, everyone is solid, and so that's a good thing. So that's when you're casting and and the casting, when you pick the right actors for the right role, you don't have to worry too much about that.
I'm in that. Did you guys hear me? I'm in it. I cannot wait. I'm excited. How do you encourage an actor if they're just like, when they're on set, they're nervous, they're not really giving you what you hired them for. Maybe they killed the audition, right? And then they get on set and it's like, what happened? How do you encourage an actor to give you the best that they can be? How do you do that as a director?
I never had that experience.
Oh.
Whereas no, absolutely have not had that experience. Now, if I were to, at this point in my career, if I were to have an experience like that, I would just probably replace the actor. Yeah.
Now time is money. We're already on set. How do you replace them on set?
Yeah, but I don't think I would cast that way. Okay. I'm very particular in terms of like how I cast and stuff like that. I never had that experience where an actor came on, or I have had that experience. But these are actors who had maybe like one role, like one line, and they were not able to deliver that one line, and they end up on the cutting table. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? We just like, no. Like there was like, no. This was like recently too.
Really?
Yeah, it was recently. Like, we had to cut a lot of people out because the performances were not that strong. A lot of people didn't like it, but at the end of the day, it was a project that we made for a network, and the performance, there was some great performances, but some of the performances were not that strong. So even like when you had strong performances in one scene, but in that same scene you had a weak performance, that took away from the strong performance. So they had to, we had to put them on the cutting table because it just it just wasn't working.
Actors don't end up on the cutting room floor. That's what you don't want. So pay attention on set. I've seen this happen on set, and I've always wondered how you would handle it. Sometimes actors can be eager, and they're the type to give advice to their castmates and also the director. How do you handle an actor that's trying to direct the scenes or direct another actor? Because it's annoying. And let me tell you, being on set and having another actor trying to direct while the director is directing is annoying. And I'm always like, help me, director, shut them up. So how do you handle that?
You know what? I haven't had that experience. No, I haven't had an experience where I'm directing. Now I've had experiences where actors want to tell other actors how to act, you know, but the actors always put those actors in place. I don't have to say anything, you know. I always put them in place. Like, you know, you do, you know, and but when it comes to like allow me to do my job as a director, I just never had that issue. You know, I just, you know, and if that were to happen, you know, I'm like, you know, like, no, you know, like, you know, like, you know, and just keep it moving. Because, you know, I don't have time. I'm not going to sit there argue with you. I'm not going to waste any time at all because time is money, you know, and time is very, very, very important. So I'm not going to waste any time at all on your foolishness. Let's make this movie and let's and keep it going.
Okay, so let's get a little dirt from you. I know we can't mention names, but let's get a little dirt. When have you ever worked with an actor where you felt like, you know, what the fuck? Wait, I curse. Hold on.
You curse.
I do. I know, but I don't want to curse on your show.
You can. It's okay.
Okay, I curse on my shit. Okay. Okay, so Mark Harris, let's get a little dirt from you. I know you can't name names, but when did you work with an actor that was absolutely the most difficult and you almost wanted to walk away? What was that experience?
Well, I have worked with actors like that. Whereas when I get to the point where I'm like, I'm ready, you know, I would never walk away. I'm not gonna say I would never walk away, but in this particular project, I didn't. When I'm on the set, right, shooting a film, I like that to be my where I can find some type of peace at, right. Mm-hmm. That's like I'm very. That's like me. I'm in my environment. I feel like peace on set, right. And when things like that happen, it's like it breaks your peace. But then you have to continue to maintain your peace, because I had a situation. Oh my God, I had a situation where I mean, you know, it was just, you know, there's certain times where you and the actor just don't click. It's just that way. That's why, you know, if you look at my movies, I like to work with the same people. You know, I like a certain type of energy. I like a certain type of spirit. But I've worked with actors. I'm like, oh man, I can't do this. I can't do this. And sometimes it's not even the actor's fault. Is right. Sometimes it's how, you know, it's how maybe I'm not clear in giving my direction. You know, maybe it's production. You know, that's not well organized. I've been hired for to direct stuff, whereas, you know, I'm getting on him like, this shit is whack. You know, I can't wait to leave, you know. So when I get to the point where I'm ready to for this shoot to end, I know there's a problem. You know, I know there's a problem. But I have been on quite a few sets, whereas, you know, not my own personal set, because I can control like the people I bring in. But like I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. You know what I'm saying? But then you have to step back and you have to look at, you know. You have to look at, you know, sometimes actors want to be difficult. You know, sometimes, you know, actors think, you know, actors want, you know, especially actors who want to direct, they think they can do a better job than you as a director. I'm like, if you can do a better job, then go direct some shit. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, but at this particular time, you're an actor, just stay in your place. You know, so you have to definitely remind actors of that. But there are many. I've learned that there are many reasons why actors act the way they do. It's not necessarily because they've been arrogant or they're just being difficult. It's just sometimes it's just that, you know, they want things to run a certain kind of way. I had a situation where I asked a fellow director about an actress, and he told me she was very difficult. Like, she was very difficult. But I had the pleasure of working with her, and she was amazing. So I learned from that is this fact that, you know, you just can't listen to everybody, because again, there are times when these actors get on sets and the sets they're not they're not professional. And so that's all they want. They want to work in a professional environment. And so that's what, we try to provide. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I know I've been on sets where the director probably walked away thinking she was difficult. And I'm like, no, you guys were trash.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm actually quite pleasant on set.
Yeah.
But you guys are trash. So can you tell us one or maybe a couple briefly what actors should do and don't do? Can you give us a do and a don't for actors that they may not know coming on set that's a pet peeve or just not good for the working environment on set? A do or a don't do for all the actors watching. Do this, don't do that.
Okay, great question. Comedians, right? I love working with comedians because people think that comedians are loud. Like I worked with Tony Rock on a project, right?
Oh, wow.
Right. And the coolest dude ever. Like, he comes on set, always on time. And people would think like, when you're a comedian, you're loud, all that kind of stuff. You want to be sane. He goes into his room, stays in his room. When it's time to shoot, comes out, he shoots, goes back into his room. So for me, and some other directors could be differently. I don't like when people are loud on set. They're loud because they just want to be seen. I just don't like for people just to be doing things just to be seen. You know what I'm saying? You're about to do your thing. People are going to be watching you. Just chill, relax. That's a big issue that I have with actors, is that fact that, they just want to be seen. I'm like, relax. So don't do things on set to be seen. Just come in and do your, but again, it also depends on the type of film that you're shooting. If you're doing a straight up comedy, you have so many comedians, they always trying to roast one another. So you might have a lot of fun time on that set when they're roasting one another. But when you say action, don't say anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like if you're watching the scene, you're like, just relax. So that's like the big thing. Other than that, some of the just be professional, be on time, be prepared. Not just, don't go as an actor, right? One of the things people think that if they memorize like the lines, that makes them a great actor. It's not about just being on set and saying lines. They're different. There's like when you listen to a Michael Jackson, I always compare it to like when you listen to like a Michael Jackson song, right? And you hear the different beats and the different tones, and there's like this feeling you get. You're like, you're going here, you're going there. Like, that's how acting should be, in terms of when you say your dialogue. It shouldn't be flat. Just you have to know your character. You have to get into your character. And no matter if it's a studio film or if it's an independent film, you take it all seriously. You prepare yourself. You always have to prepare yourself for the bigger stuff. And you have to look at, so that's big for me. Just continue to prepare yourself for, greater things. Always be professional. Always be learning. Like learning our craft and stuff like that. We should always be, and look at yourself as a entity, look at yourself as a business. I had to explain something to someone recently in terms of Joe Biden, and as it relates to the whole taxes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, you have Joe Biden, you have Joe Biden, the entity. Joe Biden, the entity is where the money comes in at, but that entity pays Joe Biden, the person, maybe $50,000. So Joe Biden, the person, has to pay taxes off the $50,000, not the $100 million that came in, because that's a write-off. You know what I'm saying? So as actors, right? Actors should establish themselves not just as an actor, but as a business. You should be a business. You know what I'm saying? Meaning like Jen Garcia should be Jen Garcia LLC or Jen Garcia Incorporated. Because what happens is that when you receive a payment based off your name, Jen Garcia, what you're doing is you have to pay taxes on that. But if you receive it as your business, what happens is the fact that you receive that money You know, and you pay out all your expenses, whether your car, your light, and you write all those expenses off. And what if $2 is left over from after you paying your, you know, your expenses and things like that, you pay taxes on that $2. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why, you know, even as actors, you know, you all have to see yourselves as a business as well. Set yourself up as a business, you know.
We are in school, people. I'm like, I'm just thinking, I'm like, I got an LLC, my name.
You may want to do, you speak with an accountant and a you know, so they can give you the whole entire, I'm not giving a legal advice, but I'm just saying, just speak with an attorney so they can give you the full rundown, because there's a difference between an LLC and being incorporated. Now, and also those laws kind of differ whether you're in New York and Vegas. I know with Vegas, I don't think you all don't have state tax or something, or federal tax, right?
Right.
Which one?
State.
Yeah, okay, you don't have state tax, right? Okay, so but in New York, you know, it's different. So you want, because in New York, when you're dealing with an LLC, what I just explained to you, you can't do that in New York. You know, and that's what 50 thing is, the fact that, hey, they're about to tax me 60%.
Right.
You know, so he can't take that and make himself an entity, because they're going to tax that as well.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. So actors work on your business and work on your backstory. So when you're on set, you're not flat.
Right.
Yeah. We are almost done, Maestro. Okay. So this is very, very important, right? The environment now for all businesses are very, very dependent upon social media and marketing. We all use it to market. It's free marketing, right? But it can be a double-edged sword, as we know. So what do you think about cancel culture? And have you ever been caught in the crosshairs of a lot of negative feedback?
I despise the cancel culture. I absolutely hate the cancel culture. Because they don't leave room for people to evolve and to grow and to make mistakes, which is human of us to do. So they don't leave room for that. You know what I'm saying? They don't leave room for people. If you're a racist, then I would like to know if this person is a racist. Why would I like to know if this person is a racist? Maybe I'm going to this person's, we're on set, or I'm just using, because we're in the film business, and this person may own a restaurant or something like that. And I may go visit this person's restaurant and they're making me some food and they spitting in my food because I'm Black. I would like to know where that person stands. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I'm totally against the whole, you know, we all need time to evolve. We all need time to grow. That's what life is about. And when people are afraid to say anything, to do anything, because they're afraid that they may be canceled, that's a big issue. There's no growth. We don't evolve. And what happens to America as a country, right? There's no room for improvement. There's no room for people to create, because there's so much fear. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I do this, they may do that. If I do that, they may do this. So when there's so much fear that's in the atmosphere, then, you know, that kind of kill the creativity in the country. That's why you're seeing what's going on now. You know, so yeah, I'm totally against that whole cancel culture thing.
Have you ever been a victim of cancel culture, or just lots of negative feedback?
Yeah, I mean, not me personally, but I when I made the movie Black and Privileged that was released on Netflix, when I made that movie, you know, you had people tweeting, what coons made this, what coon, you know, yeah, calling me a coon, but, you know, but unlike other people, I like to respond. You know what I'm saying? I like to respond because it's funny to me. You know, I like, you know, so I get on Twitter and I take their little tweets and I post those tweets. It's marketing. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's, you know, people talk about 50 Cent, but he's brilliant. He's a funny guy. You know, he understands. I think you made a post and said 50 and Donald Trump are like the same person. Mm-hmm. Right. And they are. They're the same people. They know how to use the media to their advantage. You know, and 50 knows how to use the media. You know, he does, like, 50 says things, then he'll say something else. Yeah, he doesn't care. He's probably back there cracking up, laughing at people based
Absolutely.
off the way they respond.
They know how to stay in the media and on the timelines. And for them, you know, cancel culture doesn't work, in my opinion, the way the people canceling think it does. It's actually a lot of marketing. And I guess that's why 50 in particular, you know, does these outrageous things and says these outrageous things, because he knows cancel culture is so fleeting. It lasts for about a week and then it dies down. They're on somebody else. So then 50 keeps saying these things. And I laugh at it because I'm like, you really think he supports Trump? He just knew if he said he supports Trump, you guys are going to be, you know, flooding the timelines with his name. And that's most important in this business. So, you know, no such thing as bad press took a really strong turn, I think, with social media.
As long as they get the name right.
Right. Especially with me, Jenicia.
Yeah. There's no thing, I forgot who said that, but someone says there's no such thing as bad press as long as they get your name right. But you notice, like, what 50 does is the fact that all of his, like when he tweets or put Instagram on those this controversial stuff with Donald Trump, at the end he always does the hashtag his TV shows. So that's promoting his TV. He's a smart guy. You know, like, you can't. He knows how to use the system to his advantage, and you can't hate him.
Like, I always see the hashtag legendary, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Power, and you know, it's smart. And I'm like, I just don't understand why people don't see it. How do you not see it? That you are
emotional
for free.
It's emotions. You know, like, you know, you know how to, like, one of the things, if you know how to control a person's emotions, and the media is good at that, you have total control over them. Like, 50 knows how to control people's emotions. So he goes at their emotions and they give him the control, thinking they're going to cancel him. No, you're not going to cancel 50 Cent. You're not going to cancel Ice Cube. No,
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I spoke about people trying to cancel Ice Cube. I was like, get out of here with that. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. People probably don't know this story, but 50 Cent explained that the show Empire was obviously competing with Power. And he said that Empire stole some sort of marketing plan that Power had. And 50 Cent said, instead of going after Empire, what he did was he started a Empire versus Power war on his Instagram, and it blew up, and everybody was just basically marketing Power because of that, you know, quote unquote beef. There was no real beef. 50 just made one up because he knew people would keep talking about it. So that gives you a window into, you know, how 50 Cent uses this quote unquote cancel culture and how everybody else should use it. I don't take it seriously. People have been attempting to cancel me since.
I guess it's a New York thing too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you ride on the subway, you know what I mean? It's some shit. It's like, excuse me. So we're used to the loud talking and the cursing and the you this and you're that. We're like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm getting off next stop. Excuse me, I gotta go. So yeah, it's yeah. New York is a doozy to have on your resume, being from there. Okay, so Maestro, as I like to call you, because you're always teaching. I know you're all humble about it, but you're always teaching, so I call you Maestro. So we come to the end of our interview, for this interview, because I know I have to get back to you. You're always giving us something new. But people usually end interviews with, what advice would you give an upcoming, whatever. I don't like that, because all the journeys are so different. Everybody's journey is so different, right? Yeah. So I'd like to ask you, what was the most difficult situation you found yourself in this industry, and how did you overcome that?
Shit, now.
Now?
Yes, COVID. That's not me, like COVID. I mean, but here's the thing, there's a blessing in this whole thing, right? Because, you know, like, you have to, like, another thing, like, when I say you have to control your emotions, and you don't have to talk to yourself, you have to control your emotions, and you have to see the good in this type of situation. This this gives you the time to explore self, to examine self, you know, to the situations that's around you, the people that's around you, the people that's, you know, your business, how you do business. I mean, this gave us the time to just to take a look at self. But this been at the same time, it's been a very difficult time because for us as creatives, right, in the entertainment business, our industry is basically on lock.
Yep.
You know, when I mean on lock is the fact that studios are not pushing out the films that they used to push out. So as it relates to SAG actors or actors who are going to give you what you need when you turn that camera on in order to get your investors back their money, you know, a lot of them don't want to work on independent films. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, Netflix just closed down one of their TV shows yesterday because of COVID. So every time, you know, and that's costing them money. It's like, you know, they said, you know, for this whole COVID thing, it's $5 to $10 million, you know, per episode. I mean, per hour season, extra, you know, because of COVID, you know. And when it comes to us, like, you know, if we want to shoot an independent film, we want the film to be a SAG project, you know, what has to happen is the fact that, you know, we have to go through this whole process. And so what happens if someone on your set catch COVID, we have to close down, you know what I'm saying? We have to shut the production down. We don't have the $5 million or $10 million in our bank account to you know, to wait. So, you know, so we have to take all that into consideration, you know. So that's been like the most difficult time and most stressful time. But you have to always continue to remind yourself there's a blessing in this. There's a blessing in this. And look for the blessing in terms of, because if you don't, you can stress yourself out, and you can just, like one of our brother David Rodriguez, who was the producer on Power. You know, we don't, you know, he died from a stroke, but you know, we don't know, you know, his health conditions before then. But this has been a very stressful environment, period, for, you know, for everyone, you know. And when you're a creative and it was something that you love to do, it can be extremely stressful time for us. So because we know that, we have to overcome, we have to keep ourselves occupied with other things, you know. So that's one of the things I've been doing, just, you know, trying to just keep busy, you know, reading more, you know, studying more, and just keeping myself busy, you know, and continue to, once things really open back up, that, you know, we'll be ready to go back at it, you know. And just so, you know, we won't be just, we have to be protective of our health, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You're very, in my experience working with you, you're very even keen, right? You always say, talk to yourself, don't be emotional. Before we go, now I'm curious, what do you do to keep yourself so centered? Because your set was very peaceful, I found. Even when things were like a little wonky, like this person came in late, this person didn't know their lines. Like, how do you conquer thyself? How does Mark Harris conquer thyself, you know, in the stress of COVID and, you know, things that you can't control? Like, how do you do that?
Oh, especially like when you like as a director on set, what I have to do is think 5 times before you act or speak. I have to do that. You know, here's the reason why. Because you're looking at all of these people that that you're in charge of. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, because you're the director and you're the leader of the ship. They're looking at you to lead. So if, as the director, right, if you go crazy, that's going to just throw the entire set off, you know. And so you have to maintain control. You have to control your emotions. So, because there's a bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to complete this project. It's not our ego. It's not, you know, if the person comes in, why did the person come in? Like, you know, were they stopped by the police? You know, we just never know, you know. So before we respond or before we act, we have to think, you know, and that allows me to maintain, you know, my emotions. Is the fact that, you know, I just try to look and say, okay, I know if I snap or if this happens that, you know, like this project that I was just telling you about, where, I mean, it was a battle between me and these, you know, and the actors. I could have snapped, You know, and then, but at the end of the day, the guy who actually invested in this project called me up and I think I called me up maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and just told me, and I shot this project maybe like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and told me how much he admired the fact that how I control myself under those circumstances, you know. And so people are watching, people are observing, because especially if you're the director, they want to see you. Some people just want to see you fail. Some people just want to see you lose it, you know. And so, because the person looking, they want to take that position, you know what I'm saying? And so,
and there's that, and there's
yeah,
that.
yeah. So maintain, you know, make sure that you eat properly and stuff like that. Maintain that you're reading the right stuff, looking at the right, feeding our minds the right content, you know, things like that, you know. So we won't be stressed out because it'll get to us.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing advice. So think 5 times, people. I can't. My whole career is, I wouldn't be on the block with Jen. I think maybe half. Now I can't even do a whole think once. I don't think at all. It just comes out, right? That's why you love me. But that's great advice. Think before you react. It's very, very important for everyone. Okay, Maestro, we are done here. Breaking
Okay,
into the film business. This is what it's going to be.
cool. We'll do your, all right, so you want to, so Braylee, we'll cut all this out. So Braylee just texted me. She said that was my apology, and you corrected me on it. She said it's going to be 10 o'clock tonight.
I'm sorry, it was your, who
My
told you?
apology.
Oh, okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
I said, well, you know, you know, she said, well, you all said, I'm on for you. Yeah. Okay, cool. I apologize for that.
Okay. So am I getting paid extra for working overtime tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure keep this in the edit.
Yes. We're gonna keep it. Okay. So you want to do your drop separately, or you want to do them?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it separately because
Okay.
I want it to be, you know what I mean, by itself. And I don't even know if I'm wearing this for the drop.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's gonna
But
be
you can wear a
separate.
different outfit for tonight.
Huh?
A different outfit for tonight when you interview.
Duh. Yes,
Okay.
every interview is gonna be
So,
different.
but you know, tomorrow we're doing 3 interviews. So each interview gonna have to have a different outfit.
I saw that and I was like, I was really hoping it was a typo. I was like, he didn't give me 3 interviews in one day. No, he didn't. No, he
It's
didn't.
only gonna be 30 minutes though.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you gotta get used to it because you know it's gonna be like crazy.
No, hey, I'm good. I'm
Okay,
good.
cool. All right, I'm about to end.
All right.
All right. Leave.
I got all this homework to do now.